Hey there, how's it going? Richard Kiston here. And in this video, we're going to talk about how do you file your own Chapter 7 bankruptcy, right? Essentially, an overview of the steps that you need to take in the process that you'll have to undertake to file your own Chapter 7 bankruptcy case. Now, this is going to differ from place to place, state to state, and then even within each state or district. You know, the federal bankruptcy court system is a federal court system, and it's divided into judicial districts based on geography. So, for instance, here in New York State's divided into 4 districts. There's Eastern District, Southern, and Western districts of New York. I particularly practice here in the Eastern and Southern District. The Eastern District covering Brooklyn, Queens, Long Island. Southern District covering Manhattan, Bronx, and certain parts of White Plains. So that's the way it's broken. Most of the bankruptcy courts are divided across the United States. So one of the first things you'll have to do and figure out is where you file your case. Now, in terms of the actual practical steps to filing for bankruptcy, one of the first things that I recommend to clients is that they get their stuff organized. Now, there's a whole bunch of documents that you'll probably need for bankruptcy purposes. I'll just run through some of them right now. You'll probably need you will need a valid picture ID. So let's say a driver's license or a copy of your passport. You're going to need proof of your social security number. So whether it's the actual social security card or tax return, last file tax returns. You're going to need a copy of, let's say, the last 6 months at least of any and all bank statements that you have. If you've got a house, you're going to need a copy of the deed, the most recent mortgage statement, and also I would keep handy closing documents when you purchase the house. If you own multiple properties, then all those things for each of the properties. If you have a car, you're going to need a copy of the title to the car, the most recent financing or lease statement, and also valuation of the car. If you have any insurance policies, I'm talking about life insurance, term or whole life, you're going to need a copy of the policy, or at least the schedule disclosing the cash out value of the policy. If you have safe deposit box, you need to know the information and the contents of the safe deposit box. From then on, I mean, there's a whole, I can't go through, a really thorough list. Let's say this list that I just gave you is including but not limited to. Some of the things that I highly recommend would be obtaining a most recent credit report. So right before you get to preparing your case for filing, you want to get a credit report. And what you're going to do with that is also any collection letters, credit card statements, debt statements, lawsuit documents. All of those combined are going to constitute like most of the information for your creditors and what you owe. And what even I do as well is when a client gives me all of those collection letters, lawsuit documents, bills and whatnot, I cross-reference them with a credit report. And so it's not perfect, but it's one of the best ways to make sure that you're matching up debts and ensure that you're not missing anything. You want to disclose as much as possible in bankruptcy. So again, step number 1 is get your documents in order. So your own documents is what you're really going to do. Step 2 is going to be get a copy of the necessary documents for filing, the petition and the schedules. Now you can go down to your local courthouse wherever you'll be filing the bankruptcy, and they likely have copies available. Alternatively, you can go to your court's website and go through and print out a copy of each of the documents that you'll be required to file. Step 3 is as you're going to simply go through the documents, go through the schedules, the petition, and fill it out, right? Pretty simple. I mean, there's some complexities within each of the forms, but we'll talk about that in a couple of minutes. Step 4, I forgot what step 1 was. For step 4, everyone who files for bankruptcy has to take 2 courses. One course before you file your case, and then one course after you file your case. The first course is called credit counseling. The second course is known as debtor education. Essentially, they're budgeting and education courses that the law requires people to take. The theory is that if they take this credit counseling and debtor education course, it might help them be a little more diligent about preparing budgets and sticking to budgets. I don't know whether, I haven't seen any data on whether or not there's any correlation between the two. Just know that if you're filing for bankruptcy, you'll have to take the first course before you file, credit counseling, and the second course after you file. You can just search online, look for Bankruptcy Course for credit counseling or debtor education. Find the one that you find most accessible and most affordable, because they all charge different prices, and then go from, take the course. Every agency does it a little differently, so I don't want to speculate on whether or not there's a formula for it. So at this point, you have a copy of your documents. You've already translated a lot of that information onto your petition schedules, which you should have ready. You've taken the course, and at the end of the completion of the course, if you're doing it online particularly, they would have emailed you a copy of this certificate of completion of the course. Now you're ready to file your bankruptcy case. So what you're going to do is go down to your courthouse, and you're going to file your case. There's going to be an intake office that's going to review your documents with you. You actually have to be the person. You can't, unless you're an attorney, you can't file a bankruptcy case on behalf of someone else. So you'll have to be there, present ID, social security card, all that kind of verify your information. They'll go through your documents with you. And also at the time of filing, the cost to file a bankruptcy case right now at the time of this video is $335. That's for a Chapter 7 case. Chapter 13 is $310. And now, if at the time you file this case, you want to ask for, you need some time to pay the $335, you can file an application to spread those payments out, pay it in installments. Usually, at least here in New York, they require at least $70 to be paid up front, and then you can spread out the balance of the payments over the course of the next 3 months. So at this point, we've got to filing the case, right? So you've got your documents, you file the case, you paid your filing fee. At that point, you're going to receive in the mail a date for the notice of hearing. This is a 341 hearing, or the meeting of creditors. This is where a trustee is going to be assigned to your case. They're going to review it. If you need any more documents, they're going to request from you a copy of your petition, schedules, and maybe supplemental documents. That's why it's so important to have those documents up front. Send a copy over to the trustee, however they request it, whether it's a hard, print out a copy and then mail it to them, or submit it online. Some trustees have an electronic database that you can upload it to. If they require any more documents, they'll let you know. You're going to show up to this meeting. Be sure to take valid picture ID and your social security card or proof of social security number, because the trustee cannot conduct the meeting without proper ID and proof of social security number. So be sure to take those two things. They're going to ask you about the petition, about your financial history, about how you got there, what are your current conditions. Essentially what they're looking for is to make sure that you haven't committed any fraud, you've included all of your creditors, you haven't intentionally not disclosed certain things, and make sure that there's no property that they can't marshal to liquidate and distribute in the case. So that's the 341 hearing. Usually, if they're satisfied that there's no property or money to collect, you haven't committed any fraud, you won't have to reappear in court. If they have any requests for further documents, they'll adjourn it and let you know you have until this date to provide the documents. From then on, if the case keeps going on, you got bigger issues. So that's the way that works. From the date of the 341 meeting, the case stays open for about 3 months, and this is a statutory period of time for any creditor that may want to file an objection, or if there are issues with your case, or if the trustee wants to file an objection to your discharge. If there are no objections, and most cases generally are filed and closed without any objections, if there are no objections to your discharge, the judge then signs the order, and then again in about 4 months, case is done. The order of discharge is signed and entered, and case is over. So that's, let me take a step back. Before the end, after filing, and then before the end of the case, you have to complete and file the second course, the debtor education. Again, it's similar to the credit counseling. You can find an online agency that does it. You just have to get on there, complete the course. They'll email you a certificate if you do it online. That has to get filed. The case will not be closed out, and you won't receive your discharge unless you complete that second course as well and file the certificate. So that's how you file a Chapter 7 bankruptcy case. It's not that complicated. Again, from front to back, from start to finish, it's about 4 months in total. Again, time is going to vary from jurisdiction to jurisdiction depending on how many cases they have actively. Now, that being said, another question that I often get is whether or not you can file bankruptcy on your own, and the answer is yes. There's no law requiring you to hire an attorney to file for bankruptcy. As much as I'd love you to contact me to handle your bankruptcy and represent you in bankruptcy. I understand that I can't do it. Sometimes people come to my office. Very simply, it's a matter of the fee. They can't afford my fees as much as I try to keep it reasonable. So with that in mind, if you're looking to file for a Chapter 7 bankruptcy and you just want a little bit of guidance, you want to look over shoulder and like see how to prepare a Chapter 7 bankruptcy petition, the schedules, and sort of the nuances that you have to navigate to make sure that you don't get tripped up by a technicality or something like procedural error, then I invite you to check out the Chapter 7 Bankruptcy course that I created. In that course, you're going to look over my shoulder. It's a video lesson course where you're looking over my shoulder as I go official form by official form, preparing and filing a Chapter 7 bankruptcy case. I'm going to show you I'll show you sort of the pitfalls, things to look out for, things that you may have to research, and things that, disclosure elements that you may not be aware of that often cause, again, objections to discharge or technical issues in cases where people file by themselves. So again, if you want to get your financial fresh start with bankruptcy, again, you can file your own bankruptcy. We just talked about the process. It could be a quick in and out, 4 months, in many cases, to get your discharge and get rid of the debt that you currently have, and you're just looking for a little bit of help, then check out the Chapter 7 Bankruptcy course that I created. You can learn more and get access by visiting Bankruptcy.LORK.NYC today, and get started. The course is 20-something lessons long. Each course lesson is about a particular form or schedule, and the beauty of it as well is that instead of having to go down and like figure out where these forms are, I've linked each lesson to that particular form. So what you can do is when you get into the lesson, click the link to get the form, download and print the form, and then as you're going through the lesson, you can prepare that particular form or schedule as you're going along. I try to make it as convenient as possible. As long as you have internet, a device like a laptop, tablet, or smartphone to get through it, you can use the course to prepare your own Chapter 7 bankruptcy case. So again, if you want to file your own Chapter 7 bankruptcy course and you're looking to file it by yourself, get your discharge as soon as possible, and you're in a position where as much as you want to file for Chapter 7 bankruptcy, you can't afford the filing fees and the legal fees that come with it. Trust me, I know that's a conversation that I have with clients each and every day. It's a hard one to have. They invite you to file your own bankruptcy and do it along by checking out the Chapter 7 bankruptcy course. You can get more information as well as access by visiting Bankruptcy.LORK.NYC. Until next time, take care, be well.